my last question is to Secretary Roth. Over half of the KC-46A fleet is under contract, and we still don't have an aircraft that can reliably hold or deliver fuel. The earliest these fixes are projected to be ready is 2024. Has the Air Force considered recompeting that contract?
We have not considered recompeting that contract. We think the best way forward, there are things the airplane can do today, including refueling, medical kinds of things, and also, passengers and the type of thing. So it is participating in exercises and doing a real job. But we think we would be best served taking delivery of the aircraft that are under contract and then proceeding, as you indicated, to fix the things that need to be fixed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Listen, I'm exacerbated. Here we are with an aircraft that should have been delivered as a working aircraft. That is the KC-46A. And we're paying $226 million a copy for a lemon. Every month we hear another Category 1 deficiency. And we're being told, oh, don't worry about it. It has some utility. It can fly. Well, there's not much other than that it has a utility for. And I am really frustrated because early on we said, why are you accepting aircraft that have these multiple deficiencies that can't do the mission? And now you have an additional cost of keeping other aircraft that you wanted to retire in the fleet. Listen, the platform's broken. I think the program is irreparable, and the underlying cause is a bad contract. Now we learn that our FMS partner is being upcharged up to 1,500% for spare parts. That's just unbelievable. And I find myself asking these questions continually. And I have a question for you. This is a bad contract. Have you thought about recompeting this contract when this contract ends, the current contract ends? Or have you thought about recompeting it this year? Something has got to give on this. We have a number of aircraft that are sitting on the tarmac that aren't even being flown. And we talk about air crews. We talk about, oh, gosh, we're going to get it there. I keep getting promises after promises after promises. And we have tarmacs full of aircraft. And I understand you got to train airmen and move them on to the next platform. But this aircraft is not fully mission capable. It's time that something changes. Acting Secretary Roth, what are your thoughts?
We need to work on the KC-46 and make it the airplane.
No, you don't need to work on it. You need to get it. You need to get it to the point where it's functional, fully functional.
Well, again, and we agree, and we've been working with the contractor as was responded to before. We're going to work on the remote visual system. We're going to work on the boom, and hopefully they'll be ready by FY23 or FY24. At this point, we don't see either the economic or business sense of recompeting the contract. We do think it's a good idea to keep accepting aircraft such as they are. They can do a bit more than I think you give that credit for. And we're going to use the KC-46 as a node and as we work out some of the ABMS technology and the like. So our sense is the best. I'm sorry. Okay.
Listen, with all due respect, you say it can do a little bit more than we say it can do. We look at Category 1 deficiencies. It can't hold fuel. It's supposed to be a tanker. You have human waste on board that it can't seem to hold. The aircraft is full of foreign object debris when it's being manufactured. Those seem like pretty significant things to me. The description of the aircraft as a tanker and it can't hold fuel, I'm not sure where you see the utility in saying that this is an aircraft. Yes, it can fly, you can put people in it, but I would argue that a lot of other aircraft out there that can do the same thing. At some point, I think you have to take decisive action for this. Let me move on to another question while I still have some time left. I want to get to also what our FMS partners are being charged for spare parts and potentially what we're paying for spare parts. It seems as though this is becoming a check writer for Boeing on a bad contract. 1,500% upcharge on spare parts. Is this true? And if so, why? And what are we doing about that? That's another element of this that I think is highly problematic.
I need to get back. I don't have all the details on that, so I take your point for the time being. As I understand, the customer, in this case Japan, wanted a contract very quickly. We provided it to them, and they're relatively satisfied. But that said, let me go back and check the facts. Our folks in the acquisition community are taking a look at what actually played out, and we owe you an answer on what exactly happened.
Going back to the contract, it just doesn't seem like to me that the contract in its current state is good for the Air Force. And I would argue Boeing should be looking at that and say it's not good for Boeing. They've lost over $5 billion with this contract. It seems like under those circumstances, it would make sense to look at recompeting the contract. Doesn't seem like anybody in this contract is getting what they need.
I take your point. Right now, our business sense is that recompeting it would not, in fact, be a good move. But we'll take your point under consideration and go forward. Right now, we think the best thing to do is to try to execute the program as best as possible and fix it. I take your point.
I would strongly urge you to look at recompeting. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and with that, I yield back.
Thank you. Just to shift back to the KC-46, and much has been said over the course of the several years on the contract being a problem. But on the KC-46 and the contract with Boeing now, the mistakes that are being made are on the dime of Boeing versus on us, as most other contracts. Is that correct?
That is correct, particularly for the remote visual system. The Air Force has some responsibility for the stiff boom.
And the one we agreed to, the remote visual system, is now, quite frankly, as everybody's talked about, is unmatched in the world in terms of its advanced stage of what it can do, correct?
That is correct, and we've done some outstanding work with not only our engineers, Air Force engineers, but also with Boeing engineers and others that have provided some advice on how best to move forward.
It was not pleasant getting here, and we have now the newest and best system in the world, and I don't think anybody will talk about making up the time, but to retrofit a KC-46 to the new visual system versus going out and try to get a brand new fighter, the time doesn't even come close, does it?
It doesn't.
Okay. So here we are. We ran the race. We're right at the finish line, and somehow to look at this again seems to me to be insane. And certainly I have great respect for the folks on the other side of the aisle on this one. But I didn't hear about putting this out for a new contract in the last 4 years, and I'm hearing it now. We are so close to the end that I think this would be a grave mistake to do this. Beyond the contract, that's something new, but especially if we held this high of a standard for all the other platforms that just in here today, we would have nothing out on the road. And with that, Chairman, I'll yield back.
Gentlemen, I'd like to talk about the KC-46. Although I am a freshman to Congress here, I'm not a freshman in the KC-46 program. I was actually part of the team that put together the package with Airbus to bring it into Mobile, Alabama, which we do have it there now, Airbus USA. So I'm very familiar. We won the contract, we lost the contract. We won the contract, we lost the contract. So here we sit, 10 years later. We're 7 years behind delivery on this project so far. And now we're being told it's going to be 2024 before it's ever delivered. 2024 before it's ever delivered. That's going to put it roughly it's going to put it 10 years behind, roughly. Not to mention all the upcharges on the spare parts. My question is to you, General Brown. Our fleet, our fighters that are in Europe, do I understand it correctly that we're refueling those in behind an Airbus tanker in Europe right now?
Actually, our fighters and aircraft all across the world operate with their allies and partners. The bulk of our rail refueling is done by...
But we do have an Airbus that can refuel it.
We do. But we also have a number of other capabilities, mostly United States Air Force using the KC-135 in Europe.
Okay, KC-135, but we're paying right now for a KC-46 being delivered that has got practically no use for what it was actually being built for at this moment. So my next question is, Mr. Ross, knowing that we've got an aircraft that could be built in America, that could have been already delivered because we're up to about 3 a month coming out of Mobile right now, not this particular plane, but basically the same scale. Why are we not bringing this back up for a bid? We're 4 years down the road today, or 3 years down the road today, according to Boeing's numbers, which could easily change to another 3 years. Why are we not looking at splitting this contract up? Where's our sense of loyalty here? Are we more loyal to, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, talk down to you this way, but the taxpayers are paying for something we're not receiving. So I show no loyalty to what Boeing is doing to us here. So my question is why are we not rebidding this and looking at it again?
Again, as we've discussed this morning, our sense from both an operational and from a business management perspective right now is to try to make the current contract work as best we can. I take your point in terms of the history of the contract, but we think we would be best served. We're concerned that if we try to go into a new contractual vehicle, that would put additional delays into the program that we simply don't think would be efficacious for us. We are in a mode of accepting the KC-46s. We're trying to right-size the tanker fleet by retiring older tankers while we bring the KC-46 in.
So-
I'll take your point. We'll look at it. But right now, our business sense is that we need to work with all our stakeholders to make the KC-46 program work as best we can.
In all due respect, sir, I've been in business my entire life. If I had a contract with somebody and I was 4 years behind delivering or 10 years behind, I think they would have a right to even ask for a discount. I brought that up at one point, which everyone laughed at me on the discount idea. But we are dealing with that's okay. I had several laugh at me about that. But please, let's take a look at this. It's not just building the aircraft in Mobile. It's not just building the aircraft with a company that's in my district. It's about building the aircraft. I'm worried about our Air Force and our refueling possibilities of our aging aircraft. It is a huge issue that I think we really need to push to the front of profits of anybody. So, I respect y'all's job. I respect you being here today, and I appreciate your service to this country. And General Raymond, I'm sorry we don't hit you with tough questions today. You get a free ride. Okay. Well, thank you, and I return my time back. Thank you.